ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय जन्माद्यस्य यतो अन्वयादितरतश्च अर्थेषु अभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः. We now enter the 21st chapter of the 10th Skandha of Srimad Bhagavatam. And from this chapter, we enter the most confidential and the most supreme taste of madhurya rasa, as it is called, the conjugal love of the devotion of the girls of Vrindavan. So we saw the parental love of Yashoda and Nanda and Rohini and all the senior men and women. It's called Vatsalya Rasa. Then we saw the friendly love of all the cowherd boys for Krishna. That is called Sakhya Rasa. The highest form of devotion is the madhurya rasa of the Gopis, the girls of Vrindavan. It is called the most intimate loving devotion, and we see that beginning in this. And in order to understand this, we have to relate to the mood of Gopis who are completely obsessed with Krishna, and we shall see that starting this chapter. So we saw the autumn season being described beautifully, where the waters are clear and the forests are full and everything is beautiful. And it is said that in this autumn season, Krishna enters the forest, Vrindavan forest, where the waters are clear and there is a beautiful breeze with the fragrance of lotus flowers. And in such a beautiful ambience, Krishna starts playing the flute. Venu Geetam, it is said. Venu means the flute. Venu Geetam is the song of the flute. So Krishna enters the forest where the lakes and the streams and the mountains are all beautifully resonating with the sweet sounds of birds and the humming of bees. And Krishna, accompanied with Balaram and all the cowherd boys, starts playing his flute. And he plays his flute so melodiously, so beautifully. It is said that Krishna makes the flute resonate with the sound of the birds and the bees. So it brings together, it becomes a beautiful fusion of the music of the flute and the music of the birds, and it is so enchanting. And hearing that enchanting music of Krishna's flute, the women of Vrija, the Gopis, their heart is kindled and they start to sing among themselves a beautiful loving song glorifying Krishna. They are completely caught in this wonderful mood of conjugal love for Krishna. They want nothing but Krishna, and this music from the flute of Krishna is captivating their hearts. It says that Vrajastriyaha Ashtrutya Venugeetam Smarodayam Kaschit Paroksham Krishnasya Swasakibhyo Anuvarnayan. So, hearing this Venugeetam Smarodayam, listening to this Venugeetam, the Vrajastri, the girls of Vrindavan, they are among themselves, Swasakibhyo, among the friends, the girlfriends, they start describing Krishna little away from Krishna. So Krishna is there in their sight. He is playing the flute, and seeing this beautiful sight, they are starting to describe him. Even though they want to describe, it is said that their mind is so agitated because of love that words are not initially coming out. Just recalling the gestures of Krishna while beginning to describe the music, they are unable to, because of the complete power of the attraction to Krishna. It says that Varnayatum Arabdhaha Smarantyah Krishna Cheshtitam Nashakan Smaravegena Vikshipta Manaso Nrupa. They want to describe Varnayatum Arabdhaha. They begin to describe, and they are recalling the wonderful pastimes of Krishna, Smarantyah Krishna Cheshtitam, but they are not able to proceed first because their words are choking because of the excessive emotion that they are experiencing. And in front of them, they see Krishna there. He is looking the most charming. He's got peacock feathers on his hair. He is looking like the most exquisite dancer. He's got beautiful flowers on his ears too. He's wearing flowers on his neck. He's got Vaijayanti Mala, and he is playing the flute with the nectar of his lips. And in this way, he is charming Vrindavan with his footsteps at every step of the way. It says here, Barha Pidam Natavara Karnayo Karnikaram Bibhrad Vasa Kanaka Kapisham Vaijayantim Cha Malam Randan Venor Adara Sudhaya Purayan Gopa Vrindair Vrindaranyam Swapadaramanam Pravishad Gita Kirti. So, this beautiful verse describes the scene for us. Krishna is wearing the beautiful peacock feathers. He is Natavara. Natavara means the best dancer of all. And in his ears, Karnayoho Karnikaram, he's got flowers in his ears. He's got Vaijayanti Mala. And with that, he is playing the flute. How does he play? It says, Venor Adhara Sudhaya. His Adhara is lips. So that's why there is a beautiful song called Adharam Madhuram, because his lips are so sweet. And with that nectar of his lips, Adhara Sudhaya, with the nectar of his lips, he plays the Venu, the flute, along with the cowherd boy surrounding him. And with that, he is putting his lotus feet and giving joy to Vrindavan. Vrindaranyam Swapada Ramanam Pravishat. So, with his feet, he is giving great joy to the forest of Vrindavanam or Vrindaranyam. And seeing this, listening to this music of his flute, their mind completely captivated. They start embracing each other. All the girls, the Gopis, their love is overflowing. They cannot withhold it, so they embrace each other because they are unable to go to express it directly to Krishna yet. And therefore they embrace each other and they start singing among themselves. It's the most beautiful song, the first expression of madhurya rasa, which we will see increase more and more to the peak of rasa leela that comes later. So here the gopis start singing among them and glorifying this Venu Geetam. They say, what can be a greater prize for eyes, my friends? Look at this beautiful sight we are having. We are feasting with our eyes the face of Krishna, playing the flute and casting loving glances. And along with him is Balaram, and they are leading the cattle along with other cowherd boys. To see this sight of Krishna playing the flute along with all the cowherd boys surrounding him, Balaram next to him, dressed so impeccably and looking so enchanting with loving glances, what can be a greater feast than this? So this is a beautiful song in a wonderful meter. It can be sung in many ways. So we'll see some of the verses in a particular meter. So this first verse of the Feast of the Eyes, it says, Akshan vatam phalamidam na param vidama sakhyah pashun anuviveshayato vayasyai vaktram vrajesha sutayor anuvenu jushtam yairva nipitam anurakta kataksha moksham. They say kataksha moksham, just seeing his eye, getting the glance of his eyes as he plays the flute, what can be a greater feast for the eyes than that? He is singing, then they go on, they say, each gopi is singing to all the other gopis. They take turns glorifying this wonderful pastime of Krishna playing the flute. So the other gopi says, sometimes he is singing with a circle of cowherd boys around, and so beautifully clad in the most wonderful garment. He is wearing this yellow garment. He's got peacock feathers and beautiful flowers tucked on him. He is wearing a lotus. And the two brothers, even Balaram is right there. They look the most charming. like the most beautiful actors, the most beautiful dancers. Then they say, what the other gopi says, "Oh gopis, look at this. What glory or what austerity has this flute performed? Look at this bamboo flute. It is being touched by the nectar like lips of Krishna." So they say beautifully, those lips that should belong to us are indeed being had exclusively now by the bamboo flute. Such sweetness is being felt exclusively by the bamboos instead of us feeling it. Look at the great fortune of this bamboo. In fact, not just the bamboo flute, but the tree from which the flute came, the bamboo trees are shedding tears of joy. So the sap that comes out of the trees, they look at it and say, "Look at the tears of joy the bamboo tree is shedding. And look at the rivers that are watering these trees. They are also in great joy, and they are thereby having so many flowers floating in them. All this because they are happy for the bamboo that came from the tree, the rivers that fed the bamboo trees, and the bamboo trees that in turn grew the bamboo. They are all themselves so happy. That's why the rivers are overflowing. The bamboo tree is shedding sap. All this because the bamboo that they gave is having the exclusive joy of being touched by the lips of Krishna, the nectarian lips of Krishna." They say this line, "Gopyaf kimachara dayam kushalam sma venur damodara adhara sudhamapi gopikanam bhunkte swayam yad avashishta rasam hradinyo hrishyatvacho shushum muchustaravo yatharya." So here they say Damodara Adhara Sudha. Damodara is another name for Krishna. We saw that Leela of Krishna being tied by a rope by Mother Yashoda, and from then he is called Damodara. So Damodara Adhara Sudha. Again, the nectar of the lips of Damodara is touching this bamboo when he plays the flute, and that which should belong to the gopis. He says, "Gopikanam Adhara Sudha." The nectar of his lips that belongs to us is touching the bamboo flute. What austerities has the bamboo performed? Then they continue. Every line is so poetic and so beautiful, expressing the most intimate, loving devotion, unparalleled. They say, "Look at the soil of Vrindavana Sakhi." Sakhi means friend, lady friend, girlfriend. So the girls talk to each other and say, "Look at this Sakhi. The soil of Vrindavana is so glorious. There is no other place on earth or heaven that is as glorious as this soil, because it is graced by the lotus feet of Krishna." And furthermore, here Krishna is playing the flute, and looking at this, these peacocks are dancing. The peacocks are taking the sound of the flute to be like rumbling of the clouds in a very melodious way, and they are dancing. And all the creatures are running up to the mount of Govardhana to see this. So Govardhana mountain is right there, and Govardhana gives a clear view of Krishna playing the flute. So the peacocks are surrounding him and watching, and the other animals are climbing up Govardhana. Every animal is enchanted by the flute music of Krishna. So while the peacocks are dancing around him, other animals are climbing up Govardhana. They're all getting this beautiful view. And they say, such is the glory of Vrindavan, that everyone, every animal, every blade of grass is blessed, the soil is blessed. They say the song here, Vrindavanam Sakhi Bhuvo Vitanoti Kirtim Yaddevaki Sutta Padambuja Labdha Lakshmi Govinda Venu Manumuttama Ruta Nrityam Prekshadris Sanva Paratan Samarasta Sattvam. So Govinda Venum Anumatta Mayura Nrityam. So Govinda Venu is the flute of Krishna. Anumatta Mayura Nrityam. The peacocks are dancing, intoxicated by the flute of Krishna, and every animal is going to Govardhan and watching this. Such is the glory of Vrindavan. Then they say even the female deer that are there, they are with their male deer, but then They forget their male deer and they are watching Krishna perform this wonderful musical flute performance, and they are so captivated by the loving glances of the darling of Nanda as he plays the flute. So even the deer, it says the female deer are only interested in Krishna and not the male deer. They say, Dhanyasma Muda Matayopi Harinyayeta Yananda Nandanam Upata Vichitra Vesham Akarnya Venu Ranitam Saha Krishna Sara Pujam Dhadur Virachitam Pranayava Lokai. So they say that all the female deers are thereby enchanted by Krishna. Now they talk about the Devatas, even the celestial beings. It is said they are coming in the air in subtle forms unseen by normal people, and they are gazing on Krishna so beautifully, and so his form is so delightful, especially for women to behold. And therefore the celestial women, they are also ignoring their own spouses, and they are completely infatuated looking at Krishna. They are completely deprived of any other feeling of their sense of being there, of where their dress is or anything. Everything is dropping off as they are completely enchanted by looking at Krishna. So they say here, it's beautifully, Krishnam niriksha vanitotsava rupa shilam Shrutva cha tatkanita venu vichitra geetam Devyo vimana gatayah smarannu nasara Brashyat prasuna kabara mumurkha vinivya. So we see how both the animals at one end and the celestial women at the other end are both captivated by Krishna. The animals, the deers, ignore the male deer and they are watching Krishna play the flute. The celestial women ignore their husbands and they are watching Krishna play. In fact, it says Vanitotsava Rupa Shilam. So his very form, Rupa Shilam, is a festival for the women. It says the women of all kinds are having a festival, just looking at feasting by looking at him. So the girls, the celestial women also are feasting on his form and thereby completely not aware of anything else, including their own husbands, but just captivated by Krishna. So, in other words, they say, look at this. Even the deers, the animals, do not care about the men in their lives. They are only drawn to Krishna. And the celestial beings, the women also do not care about their men and only drawn to Krishna. Look at us, we are in between, and our men are not as generous in the way the celestial men are, or even the deer, the male deer are. They are not allowing us to get close to Krishna. So they are expressing this separation from Krishna in this beautiful way. And then they say, drinking with the cup of the ears, even the cows there, they are all, so the cows and calves are there. And it is said the cows are drinking with the cup of their ears, the nectar-like music that's flowing from Krishna. And they are hugging Krishna in their own mind, as it were. And the calves who are also having full of milk, the cows are, because of this, the cows are full of milk in their udder, and the calves have had their have their fill, and the calves are also standing there unable to move. They are all just transfixed looking at this. And then it is this, they continue to say that, look at this, Sakhi, even the leaves and the birds on the trees are so transfixed. These birds, they say, are none other than, I'm sure, sages, because they are right above Krishna. So Krishna is playing underneath a beautiful tree, and there are birds sitting on the perch there on the branches of the tree, and they are unmoving. The birds, normally they move here and there, they are just transfixed and looking at Krishna and just closing their eyes. So they say, look at this, these birds are in samadhi, their eyes are closed, they are unmoving, they are still. So this is how samadhi is described, and this samadhi is experienced by these birds. They don't care about anything. They don't care about the fruits in the tree. They don't care about any other activity going on. They are simply transfixed with their eyes closed and their body still. in this music of Krishna, and therefore they are none other than, I'm sure, sages, because only sages can be so still with eyes closed. So, in this way, they say that this music of Krishna is making even rivers just not go toward the ocean as they normally go. So, rivers normally just run toward the ocean, but here they beautifully say, look at the river, it's forming a whirlpool. Instead of flowing directly to the ocean where Krishna is playing, the river is circling, it is just spinning right there, and thus thereby forming a whirlpool, and thereby they want to come and clasp the feet of Krishna. Look at the love of these waters of the river too. They say, Nadyas tada tadupadharya mukunda geetam avarta lakshita manobhava bhagna vega alinganasta geetam urmijair murarer krishnanti pada yugalam kamalopahara. So murare, it says geetam murarer, the song of Murari. Murari is another name for Krishna. By listening to the song of Murari, Krishna, Alinganam, they want to embrace him, and therefore they bring the lotus flowers through the river current. So, Pada Yugalam Kamalopahara. So, they bring lotus flowers, and with that, they embrace the lotus feet of Krishna by forming a whirlpool. And then they say, look at this, Krishna is taking these cattle for pasture in the company of Balaram and all the cowherd boys. And even the cloud is wanting to make a friend, because normally in the autumn time there is no cloud. The monsoon is over and the skies are clear. But suddenly see a cloud is appearing, and the cloud wants to make friends with Krishna, and therefore it comes to give a shade. And not only that, it's sprinkling, it's drizzling gentle small droplets of water to just cool the atmosphere even more, to make it pleasant for Krishna, and thereby trying to be his friend. So in this way, they say then there are some forest women in Vrindavan. There are some women who dwell in the forest itself, like tribal women, and these women are also so captivated by Krishna's flute. So it is said that as Krishna walks in the grass of Vrindavan, they come there and they put their face and their very breasts on the grass. This is the captivating love of Krishna that makes the women of not just the gopis but even the forest women mad. They simply go where Krishna's lotus feet has touched the grass, touched the soil, and place their very breasts on that place, their face on that place, and bathe them in the dust of Krishna's lotus feet, and thereby they get their love satisfied to some extent. Then look at this mountain Govardhana. They say the mountain Govardhana is the foremost of all servants of Krishna, of Hari, because it is deriving supreme joy, first of all, by getting the contact with the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram. And not only that, it is giving them such hospitality, it's giving them fruits, it's giving them roots, bulbs, it's offering caves in which Krishna rests when there is rain or when there is excessive heat. And it is also offering the place where all the animals can come up and have a clear view of Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's beautiful flute music. So, in this way, Govardhana, one gopi is glorifying Govardhana. So, each gopi is taking turn to glorify every aspect. One, as we saw, glorifies the cloud, one glorifies the cows, one glorifies the deer, one glorifies the celestial women, one glorifies the river, one glorifies the bamboo. So everyone is glorifying each aspect of this beautiful pastime of Krishna playing the flute. And then finally, another gopi says, look at this. Isn't it most wonderful that these delightful notes of low and high tones are making the cows and the cowherds become ecstatic, and they are being followed by Krishna, and Krishna is wearing a rope on his shoulder. So there is a rope that Krishna uses. Every cowherd uses a small rope to tie the hind legs, the back legs of the cow when they are milking the cow, and that very rope is having some pearls in its end. and Krishna is wearing that very rope on his shoulder when he is walking the cows, and thereby Krishna is walking behind sometimes and while playing the flute, and these cows are walking in front, and they are in ecstatic joy, fully delighted, hearing the tones which is sometimes low and sometimes high, the sweet tones of Krishna playing the flute. And this way, every aspect of Vrindavan, they say, all embodied beings, whether it be beings who can move, such as birds and cows and deer and all the animals, the beings which cannot move, such as trees and plants and shrubs, they are all in ecstasy, they are all in a thrill of joy, and they are all celebrating this. Look at them, they are thus glorifying each one and say, look at this, even they, every one of them, are having such intimate association with Krishna, while we are only able to see him from a distance. Look at our situation. They are thus in this great mood of separation, viraha bhava, and glorifying Krishna's wonderful Venu Geetam and recounting to each other the pastimes of Krishna who is moving about in Vrindavan. The gopis are completely absorbed in these pastimes. Their, their total absorption is so complete that they have no other thought but simply think about Krishna. So it says, Evam vidha bhagavato ya vrindavana charinah varnayanto mito gopyah kridans tanmayatam yayuh. Bhagavato vrindavana charinah. Bhagavan, who is Vrindavana Chari. Vrindavana Chari is the name of Krishna, one who moves about in Vrindavan. Simply thinking about the Vrindavana Chari, just contemplating in various ways and describing him, Varnayanto, these gopis, they were completely absorbed in love. So this is the highest ecstasy of love, where they cannot think, even in a mundane way, when one is in love, one is not able to think of anyone else except his beloved or her beloved. And that love, that kind of intimate conjugal love, madhurya rasa, is towards the most beautiful of all, the highest form, the supreme being descended as Krishna in the most ravishing form, that it says here, Vanitotsava Rupa Shila, whose very form is a festival for women, and thereby the women are so lucky. The ecstasy of devotion that the women of gopis feel, and it has been felt again and again by so many women saints such as Meera and Godha and so many more, is unparalleled, and that is only the exclusive ecstatic supreme devotion of the mood of conjugal love, madhurya rasa, that these gopis describe. And that is why Narada, when he describes Bhakti Sutra, he says, when he defines bhakti, he says, Yatha Vraja Gopikaya. He says, the highest bhakti is the bhakti of Vraja Gopis, the cowherd girls of Vrindavan, because as we can see, their every moment is consumed with Krishna, no matter where they are, whether they are in the house, whether they are working, wherever they are only either seeing Krishna or remembering Krishna's pastimes, and constantly in this mood of separation, which is heightening their love for Krishna. So with this chapter ends, the most wonderful beginning of the Madhurya Rasa, which will build more and more and give the highest, sweetest expression of devotion of Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.